Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by frustration, guilt, or anger and tried everything to make it go away? Maybe you've told yourself you shouldn't feel this way, that it's not spiritual to be angry, or that you need to rise above these emotions. But here's what happens. The more you try to control or suppress your feelings, the stronger they become. You end up in a constant battle with yourself, and nothing really changes. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone, and there's a completely different way to approach this. Here's the truth that changes everything. You don't overcome emotions by fighting them or suppressing them. You transform them by becoming conscious of them. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone criticizes you publicly. Your first reaction is anger. Your face gets hot, your chest tightens, and you want to defend yourself or attack back. Most people either try to push that anger down, telling themselves they shouldn't feel it, or they explode and justify it as being authentic. But there's a third option. What if, in that moment, you simply became aware of the anger? Not thinking about it, not analyzing why you're angry, but just feeling it fully in your body while watching it with awareness. Something profound happens when you do this. But before we go deeper, let's talk about what most people get wrong. There are two common traps when dealing with emotions, and both of them keep you stuck. The first trap is emotional suppression disguised as spirituality. This is when you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel anger, I'm on a spiritual path. Enlightened people don't get angry. So you push it down, you smile through it, you pretend it's not there. But that emotion doesn't disappear. It goes underground and builds up pressure, only to explode later or manifest as anxiety, depression, or physical tension. The second trap is emotional indulgence. This is when you let every feeling out, express everything, and call it being authentic or honest. You say, I'm just being real, I'm not going to suppress my truth. But this approach often means you're completely identified with your emotions. You become them. You feed them with your attention and stories, and they grow stronger. You're not freeing yourself, you're reinforcing the patterns. So, what's the middle path? It's called mindful awareness. It's neither suppression nor indulgence. It's the space of conscious observation where emotions can be felt fully without being acted upon or pushed away. Eckhart Tolle talks about what he calls the pain body. This is accumulated emotional pain from past experiences that still lives in you. It's dormant most of the time, but when something triggers you, it awakens. Suddenly, a small comment from your partner feels like a massive attack. A minor setback feels like the end of the world. That's the pain body feeding on drama and negativity. It wants to survive, so it pulls you into identification with the emotion. Ramana Maharshi approaches this from a different angle, but arrives at the same truth. He teaches about the I that watches the feeling. When anger arises, who is aware of the anger? There's the anger itself, and then there's the awareness observing it. That awareness is your true nature. It's not the emotion. It's the spacious presence in which emotions appear and disappear. When you rest in that awareness, the emotion loses its power over you. Think of it like this. Emotions are like ice, and awareness is like sunlight. When you shine the light of consciousness on an emotion, it begins to melt. Not because you're fighting it, but because presence itself has a transformative quality. The emotion is made of unconscious energy. When you bring consciousness to it, it dissolves naturally. So how do you actually do this? Let me give you 4 practical steps you can use immediately. First, pause and sense. When you feel a strong emotion arising, stop before you react. Instead of going into your head and creating stories about why you feel this way, drop your attention into your body. Where is this emotion located? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your throat? Feel the physical sensation directly. Second, name it softly. Say to yourself gently, "This is anger," or "This is fear," or "This is sadness." You're not judging it or analyzing it. You're just acknowledging what's present. This simple act of naming creates a small gap between you and the emotion. You're no longer completely identified with it. Third, shift from thought to awareness. Notice how your mind wants to create a story. It wants to tell you why this emotion is justified, who's to blame, what you should do about it. Don't follow those thoughts. Instead, simply observe the emotion as energy moving through your body. Watch it the way you would watch clouds passing in the sky. No commentary needed. Fourth, let it burn out. This is the most important part. Stay present with the emotion. Don't try to make it go away. Don't try to fix it. Just be with it. Allow it. What you'll notice is that emotions are actually temporary. They have a beginning, a peak, and an end. When you stop feeding them with your thoughts and resistance, they naturally complete their cycle and dissolve. Let me give you a real example. Say someone leaves a harsh comment on your video or social media post. I remember the first time someone left a truly vicious comment on my work. My hands were shaking as I started typing a defensive reply, but I stopped, felt the heat in my chest, and just sat with it instead. Your immediate reaction is anger and hurt. The old pattern would be to either suppress it and pretend you're above it, or to fire back with a defensive comment. Instead, you pause. You feel the heat in your face, the tightness in your chest. You say to yourself, "This is anger. This is hurt." You don't create a story about how unfair they are or how you need to defend yourself. You just stay with the sensation. And within a few minutes, sometimes even seconds, the intensity begins to fade. Not because you fought it, but because you allowed it to be there with full awareness. Now, here's something important. Sometimes awareness alone isn't enough. Sometimes an emotion is so deeply rooted that simply observing it doesn't seem to dissolve it. This is where inquiry comes in. This is Ramana Maharshi's most powerful teaching. When you feel anger, ask yourself, to whom does this anger come? The answer will be, to me. Then ask, who am I? This question directs your attention back to the source. Who is the I that feels angry? When you investigate deeply, you realize there's no solid self that owns the emotion. There's just awareness, and within that awareness, thoughts and feelings arise. This inquiry cuts through the identification at the root. And sometimes emotions are linked to deeper wounds or mental health patterns. If awareness alone isn't helping, it's not a failure to seek therapy. It's actually another form of wisdom. Sometimes we need professional support alongside our inner work, and that's completely okay. So, how do you integrate this into daily life? This isn't just a meditation technique, it's a way of living. When you're stuck in traffic and frustration arises, pause and feel it in your body. When you're in an argument with your partner and anger flares up, notice the anger before you speak. When you're lying in bed worrying about the future, become aware of the anxiety without trying to solve it or push it away. The progress here is subtle but cumulative. You won't suddenly become emotionless or perfectly peaceful, but over time, you'll notice that emotions don't control you the way they used to. They come, you feel them, and they pass. You stop creating so much drama around them. You stop feeding old patterns, and gradually, there's more space, more peace, more freedom. Here's what this journey really is. It's a shift from resistance to awareness, from fighting your inner experience to allowing it, from being lost in emotions to recognizing yourself as the space in which emotions appear. This is the spiritual way to handle emotions, not by transcending them or denying them, but by bringing them into the light of consciousness. When you start living this way, you realize peace was never something to find. It was what remained when resistance stopped. If you want to go deeper into how emotions dissolve in awareness, watch my video, What is the Pain Body, next. It will give you an even deeper understanding of why we get triggered and how to work with accumulated emotional pain. The link's in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. dailyselfwisdom.com